we are officially recording. Aaron, can I have you do a quick mic check?
Mic check, 1, 2, 3.
Perfect. Okay.
Mic check, 1, 2, 3.
All right. And so from my understanding, you are the CEO and Executive Director of Good Samaritans?
Correct.
All right. What else do you have in your belt in terms of community work right now?
Well, with respect to community work here locally, I pastor a church, Thankful Baptist Church. Currently, I serve as the senior pastor for the past 4 years. And they're a phenomenal, loving congregation who is all about community service.
All right. So first question, Mr. Murphy, tell me, why did you decide to run for city commissioner?
I felt that the leadership experience, knowledge, wisdom that I had to offer would be an attribute to our community. Having the corporate America leadership experience as well as local nonprofit, I believe I could add a good addition to our city commission. Also carry a diverse perspective, come from a world that many others don't or haven't came from, so I wanted to share that experience and that perspective that is much needed at that table of service here in our community.
And so what do you plan to bring to the commission?
Well, I hope to bring more unity in our community. I hope to bring a voice that is a collective voice from others in our community that may feel they haven't been heard. And so I'm able to bridge the gap and to help us be a better community holistically.
Okay. So what are some areas that you plan on working on? You kind of just briefly said this, but what are some areas you plan on working on in the community that will help Johnson City? Is there something that's on top of your list?
Educational development, ensuring that not only our children, but our grandparents and parents are well educated. Education is important. Also shedding light on job training that we need in our region to help offset the need in the construction industry. Hands-on trades such as carpentry, plumbing, and electrical, they're much needed in the season. And so if we could teach those trades to our citizens, I believe that we can address address a need here locally that's just screaming for our attention right now. Educational development, and then also economic recovery, which is dear to my heart, to help strengthen and stabilize existing local businesses so that they can in turn provide more jobs for our citizens here in Johnson City, to help them not only endure the current pandemic, but future challenges as well. We need to invest in our local businesses for the reason of not just thriving, we need to invest in our local businesses for the reason of not just surviving, but to thrive, so that they can overcome and serve our community as well. So educational development, economic recovery is dear to me, but most importantly, community relationships. If we can if we can just all sit down at the table and build a relationship with one another and try to understand and build, strengthen existing relationships and also create new ones. I believe that's what community is all about. That's what we need to do here in our city. I know there are ongoing conversations that have been going on for years, and we need to join in on those discussions, not reinvent the wheel, but build on the success that we have here in this community we call Johnson City.
All right. So as a person of color, how do you plan on going about the protests that have been going on in Johnson City this summer? Is there a dialogue that has been taking place between new generation freedom fighters and Panthers and NAACP, or if not, will there be some type of dialogue in the future?
There are dialogues that are happening. I do know there is one happening once a month with the Johnson City Police and community, and there are groups from all walks of life who have attended those meetings, and they all have the goal of what can we do to to work together and be more on the same page. We understand that there are groups who represent populations within our region who feel like they're not being they feel like they're being mistreated or not being heard. But if we have a table that we can all sit down and listen to one another and do our best to understand and build a relationship, I think that's what's important in this season. But all people deserve to be treated fairly. We as leaders in the community need to see if we can cultivate an atmosphere, an environment where that can take place, where we can be a model for many other communities all over the world.
And from some research and some digging, and I think you confirmed it as well, you are the third person of color, not just Black or African American, but person of color to hold a seat in the Johnson City Commission. What does that mean to you?
It means that it means a lot to me. But more than that, it means a lot to our community. The city elected me as an officer to serve at the commission is an humbling experience. I'm greatly honored, and I look forward to serve. I think that my election is a reflection of the heart of our citizens here, which means they are a community of a diverse community, people from all walks of life, who will give those chances to prove themselves. And so, yeah, I'm very grateful to serve in this capacity and to stand on the shoulders of those that went before me, such as Hezekiah Hankel and Charles Charlton. And so I will serve as the third, and I'm grateful for that opportunity.
All right, and we touched on this earlier. So you've held positions in the community as a leader, but this time it's official. How excited are you? Watching the election was one of the most uncomfortable experiences I've ever had. But at the end, I was shown a lot of favor and proven to be victorious. And just having the support of the community is priceless, and it means everything. And I'm excited to serve. I'm signing up for the challenge, and I look forward to helping make a difference at a table with other great leaders here as well in Johnson City. Is there anything else you want to add, anything I may have missed? I just believe in that. I believe in this narrative that's taken place in Johnson City where minorities have been given opportunities to excel and succeed and achieve. And I'm blessed to be a part of a community that allows that to take place. I believe Johnson City is a reflection of what it's supposed to look like in government when you have women and people of color who are represented at that table. That means a lot, that we could share in vision, hold one another accountable, and help together move this city forward in the direction that it's called to go in. But most importantly, and this is what I'm big on, building on success, the great things that the leaders that have sat in these seats have done before we got there. Let us not ignore that, but just be a part of that narrative, be a part of the story, be a part of the history of great leadership here in Johnson City. And you're either going to start it or you're going to pick up where somebody left off. And I think, honestly, Larry Calhoun, who served in that role on behalf of Ralph Van Brocklin, right? So at his passing, Larry Calhoun came on board. A wonderful man and a great leader in our community. And him and I having conversation here recently has been meaningful because I believe there are those in our community who care, who want to properly pass the baton to the next person coming in. And that means a lot, rather than me walking into a role and not knowing where the other person left off. And so having calls from Larry and other commissioners to help transition in and be a part of
discussion that's taken place is very meaningful. Is very meaningful, and it's you feel included, you feel important, and I'm just very excited. I'm excited to walk in the room. I'm excited to sit at the seat, and I'm excited to represent a great community we call Johnson City. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Do you know about Hezekiah Hankel? In
Yes.
Charlton?
He had served in the late. I know more about Reverend Charlton than I do Dr. Hankel.
Okay.
But I know he served in the late 1800s.
Okay. Yeah. So Hankel, he led our city through a challenging time. He was a doctor, and I think there was some kind of virus or something going on, and so he was able to lead in a time of a pandemic. So do some research on that. I'm pretty sure that's
Was it when the flu first came?
some virus, and so he led the city, but he also pastored an all-white congregation temporarily, Boones Creek Christian Church. So he was an African American who pastored an all-white congregation during the Civil War because the original pastor was sent to war, and so you have that history there, doctor and commissioner. And then you have, so he was in late 1800s or early 1900s. But then you have Charles Charleston, who came back in the early 2000s, and he became a commissioner and also vice mayor. So he was able to take it a step further, and he was a pastor and commissioner. So Hankel was in education. He was a medical doctor and he's a commissioner. Charlton was an education, pastor, and commissioner. I am a nonprofit pastor, and I'm not in education, but I'm more in like construction. So I bring like a different element. So I have something in common with Charlton, which is pastoring. So a pastor is a common thread. Hankel was a pastor, I was a pastor, Charlton was a pastor. Yeah. So there's something special in that when you look at the only 3 persons of color of African American descent were all pastors. So what is the community really saying? What are they longing for? What do they look for in leadership from this demographic? So I think the writing on the wall says they trust that and they want that to sit at the table. Because it wasn't 9,509 votes from the African American community that got me in that seat. It's not that many of us here. So there was a combination of votes from all over the community that says, yes, we want Aaron T. Murphy to serve in this capacity. That means a lot. That's a humbling experience. What do you say? Right?
Yeah.
Good stuff. Let's do it. Let's serve. Let's get our hands dirty. Let's make a difference. So I look forward to what's going to take place, you know? I just thought that was some good information to share of Hankel, Charlton, and now we have Murphy. Yeah. That's good history here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and so so Hankel was a commissioner, Charlton was a vice mayor. What does that mean for me? I'm not prophetically speaking that I take it to the next level, but you see some advancement happening in communities who are the minority.
Right.
But it takes a whole community to say, hey, we want to give everybody a fair shot. How can you not serve a community like that? That's a beautiful thing. You look at Jenny Brock, the first female mayor in the city. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. So Johnson City is responding to what they want in leadership. And you see it with their vote. So
Are you also on the younger side compared to all the other commissioners?
Yeah, John Hunter and I are the youngest. So John's like 39 or 40. Yeah, we're about the same age.
Nice.
Yeah, we are in, I think Joe Wise is in his 50s. Todd is in his late 60s. I think Jenny, she may be turning 70 soon. I'm not sure, but I know she's at least in her 60s
Yeah.
on the back end of it. But yeah, the leadership is getting a little younger here in Johnson City. Is young leadership needed? I believe it's more so what the leadership has to offer versus the age. So in spite of what your age, if you have the experience, you have the expertise, you're trusted at that level, then why not give a person an opportunity to serve? Because it is a call to serve. At the end of the day, it's a call to serve. Every person, not just black, not white, purple, yellow, green. Every person in the city has to be served from that level of responsibility. And that level of responsibility is called the Johnson City Commission. So you just don't serve Republicans, Democrats, or independents. You serve all people. That's what it's about. That's what it's about here in Johnson City.
Well,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you.